Let's Talk Call-In Radio.
Good morning. This is Stephen Hurwitz, and I'm your host today. And we're going to talk about obesity today. How did we get here? In 1950s, very few people were overweight or obese. Today, over 50% of the population suffers from it. You know, in the past, it was easy to talk about the big O. Now we're going to talk about the bigger O, obesity.
Mm-hmm. This is Paul Raphael laughing in the background. Hi.
So it's the bigger O. It's obesity. If you have any ideas, please call in. I'd like to talk about how do we get here.
And what's that number? The number is 415-663-8492 or 8317 if you so choose to use the other line. Or you can tweet us on @Let's Talk on KWMR. Yes, we're talking about obesity, and today it's just myself, Paul Raphael, and Stephen Hurwitz in the studio. Robin is elsewhere, coping with family matters in another state. But joining us later, perhaps, will be Stephen's wife, who is kind of an expert on this.
She is an expert.
Problem.
She is a weight loss physician, so she knows a lot about this, way more than I do. But I think one of the things you have to consider is it's not the same society that it was back then. Women are not in the home the way they were. People don't cook as much as they do. There were much more anxious society. We're busier. We don't have a lot of time for that kind of stuff. Eating out, I'd like to just use that as an example. All of us eat out.
We eat out more than we used to?
A lot more than we used to. No. You know, think about this. Portion size. The portion size has practically doubled since the 1950s. Look at your plate. It's bigger than the plates used to be. Restaurants are keen to get your business and keep it, so they give you a big plate of food. And that's fatty food.
So we're talking sort of fine family dining restaurants and fast food restaurants and stuff like that. High sugar, high fat, high cholesterol, high salt. And there's a reason that we like that, right? I mean, we were genetic, though there was genetic selection for being able to survive during times of malnourishment.
That's
by being
right.
able to store fat.
Exactly. So we've kept that genetic bias, but we are not hunter-gatherers. The food was hard to get. Now it isn't. But so we treat food as if we were hungry all the time. In fact, speaking of hunger, I think a lot of us eat out of habit. We don't eat from hunger. You could even ask yourself, when was the last time you were really hungry? Maybe some people call in and say they are really hungry. Speaking for myself, I'm not hungry most of the time. I eat out of habit. It's 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's time for lunch.
Right. Well, is this a habit from working days? I mean, that's kind of what happens if you're at work. You take a lunch break. It's a good excuse to get away from the desk or the job or whatever you're doing and have a break.
I'm not sure where it goes back. Of course, we all remember eating everything on your plate as a admonition.
Starving children in China.
Starving children back then it was India.
No, this was because we controlled India, with the UK. This was in the UK, so everything was fine in India.
Now it's fat children in China. Obesity was never a problem in China until the last 20 years.
Really?
That's right.
I thought it was kind of a cultural phenomenon that, especially with the firstborn son, you feed him up, you make him nice and chubby. I thought that was kind of how it was. That's how it was in, where were we? Boy, when I was out in the Pacific.
Pacific Islands, different story. Now there's prosperity, I think, is one of the biggest reasons.
Right.
Look at the streets in China and you see McDonald's, you see Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yes.
Those guys, those have been a major contributor.
Making the world a better place, one fast food store at a time. Give us a call. We're talking about obesity, the problem of obesity, the epidemic. It's a worldwide epidemic now, right? And so we'd like to hear your views, experiences, opinions. What causes it? Have you had trouble with overweight? Let's call it overweight, although that's different from obesity.
Well, it's just a little less.
Right. I'm overweight, but I'm not obese, according to my body mass index, which we'll talk about later.
Well, that brings up a very interesting point, though.
415-663-8492. Give us a call. And, when you call in, you'll hear a weird little noise as I patch you into the system. Just hang on until I say you're on the air. Give us your name, and please watch your language. Keep it clean. Anyway.
Well, you brought up an interesting point. There is calling yourself obese is hard to say. So you say you're overweight but not obese. You're reluctant to use that word to describe yourself?
No, I was looking, doing a little research yesterday for this. And they keep saying the difference between being overweight and being obese. Obesity is something beyond overweight, according to, I don't know, Wikipedia, like they know. But anyway.
I'd like to take this eating out analogy one step further. Food prices have dropped dramatically since the 50s. And it's another reason why restaurants can give you that big, full plate of food. The government subsidizes food, believe it or not. The agriculture bill, essentially the price of corn, which feeds animals.
And creates corn syrup, which is in everything
that's right.
That's processed.
And so government's helping us out. They're a big contributor. And I remember when McDonald's first started, their big menu was really three things: a cheeseburger, French fries, and a Coke.
Right.
So let's just even consider that as a starting point. We've added one new thing here, the ubiquitous bacon.
Well.
Can you find anything that doesn't have bacon on it? They even have bacon-flavored ice cream, believe it or not.
That's true. I saw that the other day, yes. Bacon, yes. Well, oh, dear.
Yeah, are there any bacon lovers out there?
There's one right here. That's unfortunate, isn't it? Yes, I like some bacon. It's good flavor, just a little bit. I don't eat a lot. I just, if you're doing Brussels sprouts, you put some chopped up bacon in there. Ooh, man.
Do you eat the Tony's burger?
Tony's burger. Oh, no. No, I haven't eaten that for, I don't know, years. Tony's seafood, you mean?
Yeah.
I generally eat seafood when I'm at Tony's seafood.
But there is a Tony's bacon a burger. It's got, I guess, 2 patties, cheese, bacon. I've never had it, so there might be a lot more. Ketchup, sweet. Another form of sweet. Sugar's hidden, of course.
Sugar's
we don't even need to talk about sugar.
It's not even sugar. It's corn syrup.
Corn syrup.
Yeah. It's high fructose corn syrup. The bane of American health, yes, that was the way to put it, I think. Anyway, so we're being manipulated. You, in the blurb that you wrote for the show, you talked about food scientists, two words that really shouldn't go together, but food scientists, there's this, they're working away in labs to make food irresistible.
I'd say that it's a food-like product.
Food-like substances.
Exactly.
And it's mainly about increasing the sweetness, the salt, and the fat content. Right?
That's right. 3 things manipulated for the sweet spot, they call it.
Because we can't resist it. And we have a caller. What's your name, please? You're on the air.
Hi, Paul. It's MK in Seattle.
Hey, MK.
How are you?
Oh, I'm well. I'm overweight, though.
Oh, yeah, so am I. But not badly.
Yeah.
I was going to... Your wife is... or Stephen's wife is coming on later, and there's one thing I was wondering about, and that is that supposedly after menopause, there's an estrogen component to fat that your body doesn't want to give up. And I was wondering if she knows if that's really true for us older types. And because that would mean that your body's more reluctant to lose weight.
Right.
Well, let's save that question for Gail.
Okay. Well, we have someone on line too. Let's just see if it's Gail. Ooh. No, let's not do that. We have static there.
Something's weird. I can hear a big howling noise.
Oh, it's happening with you too. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so that's a good question. I'll pose it to Gail when she gets on the line. Anything else, MK?
I'm curious if that's a real thing. I mean, I'm at the point in my life where I've had so many cardiac problems that I'm very aware of salt intake, which is another big bugaboo in our diet.
Yeah.
And trying very hard to eat vegetables and fruit and things that aren't going to make me blow up like a balloon.
Right.
Who needs it?
Yeah.
Hard on the joints, hard on the legs, hard on everything. And getting older is bad enough as it is.
You're hitting it all there. Joints, legs.
Yeah. Well, I'm a seasoned veteran. Anyway, did you get your other caller?
No, I think that's maybe what's causing the feedback for some reason. But
I hear a phone ringing now.
No, well, maybe it is on their line. Thank you for calling, MK. Let me see if I can take the other line on now.
Okay,
thank you so much.
I'd like to make a call.
Okay. Well, we had some weird noises going on in the background. Maybe that was Gail calling in, but please do call in again. There you are. Oh.
Where is that phone?
The phone you have is making weird noises, I'm afraid.
She's on Skype, I'll bet you.
On Skype. Oh, dear. No, you can't do that. Sorry. Off the air. Okay.
Okay, let's skip that Skype thing.
No Skyping. Let's see. We had many physical problems caused by overweight, by obesity, cardiological, dermatological, stretch marks, lymphedema, cellulitis, intertrigo. There's diabetes, mellitus, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Oh, dear, it just goes on and on. Gastroenterology, the reflux, fatty liver.
Cancer?
Neurology, stroke, migraines, carpal tunnel, dementia. Man, multiple sclerosis.
The big one is diabetes.
Cancer, all kinds of cancer. The big one is diabetes.
Yeah.
Is that because that's one of the first ones that hits? That's the first.
And it affects so many other effects on disease. So, and it's one of those things that is so prevalent with people. And doctors, doctors are in a tough spot. They have 15 minutes with the patient,
right?
Maybe less.
Right.
They know they're overweight. Doctors have a tough time bringing the subject up.
Really? Well, you've never had a tough time bringing it up with me.
Well, believe it or not, it's maybe with men it's easier than with women.
Right.
And it's a lot harder. Doctors in some ways have to be trained as to how to approach the subject because it's a little tricky.
Right.
But they don't have time to actually cure it.
Yeah.
It's treating the symptoms.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You go after the symptoms instead of the base problem, which is what? Is it overeating? Are we saying that obesity is caused mainly by overeating?
That is too simplistic.
Yeah. But we have a caller online, too.
All right.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. What's your name, please?
Hi, this is Gail.
Hey, Gail.
Do I know you?
Yes, and you're doing an excellent job of representing.
Excellent. He's good at this.
He is.
So, as to MK's question about...
You repeat it because, honestly, I was trying to find a phone that worked while she was speaking, and I couldn't hear the radio.
Well, it was about age-related drop in estrogen, how that affects the weight, her weight, or women who are getting of a certain age.
What I have found is that what is more important than the drop in estrogen is the change in our bodies as we come to the menopausal or perimenopausal, so that it often becomes, a lot of complex changes in the way we metabolize food and our energy and even our sleep and a lot of the factors that kind of contribute. Many women several years after their menopause kind of readjust and often will then lose some of that weight, kind of get back to what would be a more normal level for themselves. So I think it's the change that trips us up rather than the exact amount of estrogen.
Okay. So it's hormonal changes, it's endocrinological changes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Could you talk about the big D word, diabetes, and how that affects our bodies, and how we get there, and what we can do?
Well, most people. So some people have diabetes, what they call type 1, where they actually just don't make enough insulin, their pancreas stops working. But what's much more common is what we call adult onset or type 2 diabetes, and that is often a mismatch between the amount of insulin that we make and the demand that we put on our body. So when people have gained weight throughout their, as they've aged or throughout the course of their life, often they keep their weight around the middle part of their body. People talk about the apple shape being more risk in terms of heart disease and diabetes and other health problems, but that creates a hormonal imbalance, what we call metabolic syndrome or insulin resistance. So our body doesn't make enough insulin to metabolize the amount of sugar and starch we eat, and also it doesn't work as efficiently because the cells are just so overworked from having this excessive demand, over so many years. So it's kind of a downward spiral. The really good news is that if you just can stop eating, sugars and refined starches, even after a few days, the body starts to restore a more normal relationship, and over time, even just losing 10 to 15, 15 to 20 pounds, let's say, can totally reverse that course. So, they call it prediabetes or, it's really lifestyle related. And then there's small changes in both the way we eat. Physical activity burns and restores that insulin balance almost better than eating. And so the combination of being more physically active and getting away from the sugars and the refined starches can often move away from that as a condition, but more importantly as a risk to vascular problems, eye problems, heart problems, kidney problems.
So diabetes really wears out the body's systems.
Diabetes is worth avoiding, and a lot of times, it's the number that finally gets people to wake up and realize that it's not worth it, or that it's worth making some changes to restore their health and to maintain their health.
And I read yesterday that once you're overweight, it becomes more difficult because of hormonal and metabolic changes, it reduces the body's responses to overeating, that you don't have that that you don't feel full as much anymore, and that's just it's not just that you're craving food, it's just that your body says, oh, keep eating, go ahead, keep eating.
It's a pretty complicated system. I think it's like a cascade. It's like the more you eat, the more you want to eat. Once if you can avoid becoming seriously or significantly overweight, it is much more easy to maintain a healthy weight than it is to lose a lot of weight and then keep that weight off. There's no doubt that once you have experienced, significant obesity, significant weight gain, that it takes a lot more focus and a lot more attention to keep that weight off long term. But, there's such a crowd of people that want to say diets don't work and it's hard and create this whole mythology. But the truth is that it's like learning a new language. Your idea is to find foods that you love that are also healthier for you. Foods, you have to put some time into finding the recipes, the style of eating that works. But really, if you can get some basic things in place, I think you guys started to describe just eating at home more home-cooked meals, less restaurant meals, less fast food, way more vegetables, and then just, a little bit of whole grain, a little bit of healthy fruits. And, it's a basically simple, straightforward style of eating.
And you have to have the commitment to keep on that diet once you're out from under the spell, right? You don't go back to that's part of the criticism leveled against diets, isn't it? That people go off the diets once they're out of the program or whatever, they do the Jenny blah blah whatever that is. And
but here's the thing. One of the things that I had written, just thinking, one of the issues that I think is important and goes along with a lot of the comments from the beginning of the show is this idea of sort of a personal responsibility versus, a cultural or community response. Like the tendency, and one that's really been cultivated, is to go through life thinking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I control why did I eat that? A lot of personal derision and even shame and things that go along with being overweight, and then a lot of cultural bias that really goes, that encourages that. But as Stephen was outlining, I think that sometimes I think we should be a little angrier, that we should say, like, don't put that crappy food, at eye level. You're hurting my kids, It's like
starting the meal with a basket of bread and a little oil on the side, just dip it in.
Yeah, so we live in a culture where everything, like from the minute you walk into a restaurant, is designed to get you to eat more and drink more and spend more. It's not, literally they know that if the temperature is a little cooler, you'll eat more food. If the lighting is different, if they bring the desserts around,
Gail, you're making me hungry.
It's a cascade effect, but yet I think that it's almost like the emperor has no clothes. Like, people have to just, in a sense, just wake up and take a step back.
Can you tell us a little bit about this business of calories, how I can go into Starbucks and have one of their sweet drinks and I might have all the calories I need for the entire day from that one drink? Can you talk about that?
Yikes.
Well, when you go into a place like Jamba Juice, because it has fruit juice and a little splash of protein powder, they have 1,200 calorie drinks. And our young people, our teenagers are just, lining up. Stephen and I have been in Starbucks, where the senior class gets out for lunchtime, and we've watched the line with the sweet frappuccinos and a pastry, not one food item among them. So, there's like so many layers to this. We talk about, there's something called the willpower trap, the idea that it just takes enough willpower to lose weight, that and if you don't have enough willpower, then I guess you're just out of luck, right? Is that there are a series of structure of behaviors where you have to learn, how does my body work? how do these foods affect me? How many calories are in this? You know, on a personal level, you have to come to a place where you really feel that, you know, the motivation. I want to grow up and see my grandchildren. I want to be able to play with my grandchildren. I want to, you know, I don't want to have diabetes. I want to protect my health, my knees. I don't want my knees to hurt. You know, you have to have some motivation and some knowledge on a personal level and on a cultural level, you know, socially. I mean, when we have dinner with friends, they don't serve big fancy desserts. We don't eat a ton of hors d'oeuvres. We're not big drinkers. You know, there's a lot of things that we've just, it's nice to be in places where I don't have to be good or be worrying about everything I eat, because pretty much they have a similar lifestyle. The more people around me who
Speak
take
for yourself, Gail.
the more normal it is.
Speak for yourself. If I go to an affair and there's that dessert table, I just have a tough time staying away from that.
Well, agreed, but the point is that those things are relatively rare, or the more rare they are, you know, then the more your odds of success go up.
I'm not going to tell people about your secret addiction.
That's so sweet of you.
So this whole thing about, isn't it like we're all eating feast foods now? I mean,
exactly.
these were things that were rare, and they were a treat. If you could get a nice piece of meat, you tore into it because it was full of fat, and it helped you get through the winter. But now you have it available at any time and in any place, almost any place, except in food deserts where they have no choice but
Exactly.
to
And they're obese.
rotten food. And they're obese, which just...
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, there's, you know, I think it's all true. So then the question is, you know, how do we respond as individuals, and how do we respond as a society or as a culture, or even, you know, as a family?
Yeah. Well, it's like everything else, and as you live, you need to be more conscious about the way you live in almost every aspect of life, actually.
Actually, and I mean, even sort of this joke, you know, I think, well, I can't do a lot of things that I did when I was in college. You know, I mean, as we get older, we really have to become, like you say, more careful and more thoughtful about how we take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to just do one shout out. So my mom is listening. I'm here in Florida with my mom.
Oh.
And she's listening too.
Beverly, hello.
Excited. And the thing I wanted to say is that even when we were growing up, we never went to McDonald's once. Even I'm always so proud of her and so impressed that even all those years ago, she knew that it wasn't really healthy and it wasn't good for us.
Well done, Mom.
We ate home 6 nights a week, 3 meals a day, whatever, and she really took charge of that. And it makes a big difference in how I am around food now as an adult.
Well, yeah, so this is conscious parenting. There you go. Can we keep you on the line? Because there may be other questions for you. We have another caller, actually.
I'm so excited.
Okay. Caller number 2, you're on the air. You already gave up. Please call us back. Just hang on. If you get on the air and you hear that weird little noise as I put you on the air, as I put you into the system, just hang on, please, until we can get to you. There you are. Hello, caller. You're on the air. What's your name, please?
Hi, Paul. It's MK again.
MK again. Good.
Hi. I wanted to say, if I put the pillow over my computer, that unfortunately it seems like we have to wait until we're old enough to actually suffer maladies from eating before we smarten up, which is really unfortunate. But another thing is that these diet programs where you have to buy food and stick to their program and go to their meetings and all this stuff is a bunch of hooey, because they don't want you to get better. If you get better, then you don't need their program anymore, and you'll go off and live a happy life and be thin and beautiful.
I think it's more like a yo-yo. They want you to get better, and then you lose it, and then you want you to come back. Right.
And you have people like Oprah Winfrey, who is a billionaire, out there telling everybody about how she's not deprived and this, that, and the other thing of eating bread and pasta and
yeah.
I think she's just invested. She's invested in Weight Watchers. I think I read that.
Yeah, and it's disgusting.
It's an investment.
Yeah, and it's money. The whole thing is why we've gotten ourselves into this horrible political mess. Sorry to bring that up, but there's.
Oh, don't mention that.
This
name.
It's a teeth-free zone.
Let me just give a station break here. This is KWMR 90.5 in Point Reyes Station, 89.9 Bolinas, 92.3 in San Geronimo Valley, streaming live on KWMR.org. And we're talking today about obesity. We have Stephen in the studio and myself and Gail on the phone and MK on the phone. And give us a call when the lines clear up. Give us a
I'll
call.
shut up and get
No.
No, MK, you brought up.
Yeah, you brought up
a big point, though, is that weight loss is a big business now.
Sure.
And
But if they were pets.
So, Gail, what's your...
we talked about that already.
What's your response, Gail, about what MK's saying?
It is a big business, and it speaks to, both the desire and the opportunity, and even to how limited we are. If there was one thing that worked, everybody would do it, so there's always just trying the next thing. There's a lot of hope. I mean, there's a lot of bravery for people who lose weight, gain it back, and just keep trying, do it again. The truth is it takes structure and accountability and support, and you can create a community where people do get better results than they might on their own. So,
right.
It's a balance
Balance is a very important word, because human beings have appetites. There's appetites for food and appetites for sex and appetites for love and appetites for this, that, and the other thing. And when one isn't satisfied, the others seem to go kaflooey. And in this culture that we're in right now, where a lot of people use Weight Watchers meetings and stuff like that as their social life, because they don't have anything else. It's like the PTA used to be when my kids were in school. Didn't do much except sit around and eat donuts and drink coffee.
Those donuts.
It's true, but there's a lot of loneliness, and I think social media has a lot to do with that, and a lot of other things. But
that's
it's a tough world to live in.
That's another one that you brought up, and that's comfort. We turn to food for comfort.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of grandparents are really guilty of that. So I try not to be. And my grandchildren come over and they say, "What do you got that's healthy?" And I think, "Oh my God, what's wrong with you?"
You're not my children.
Have a muffin.
Well, there's another thing that I don't think has really quite been included here, which is we think about food as being, people always say it's not about calories in and calorie out. It's not just about. Well, first of all, it's very, very rare that a person loses weight through physical activity alone. It really is primarily about changing their eating style and the amount that they eat. But that being said, stress is a storage hormone. Sleep deprivation is very, very highly associated with obesity. Your weight is the end point of life that's out of balance. And so restoring that balance, including... I eat carefully every day, and then I occasionally indulge. And quite frankly, I don't have to be perfect because I have enough good habits so that if I mess up or slip or choose to overeat in some other way, it's all in the system. I still have the ability to keep my weight more where I want it to be.
What I love is looking at I watch a lot of cooking shows because I love to cook, and it's interesting. It's sort of culturally fascinating to me. But when you go to these restaurants and they bring you a beautiful plate with sauce dribbled all over it, and like one asparagus spear and a little tiny piece of lamb, and then there's another thing, and they charge you $89.95 for it. I'm wondering, these people eating very carefully, what are they going to do afterwards? Go to Dunkin' Donuts or someplace to fill up their emptiness?
No.
That's a little too cynical. I think that...
I am cynical.
But you know what else? Here's another thing. It's like, again, this restaurant thing, it sort of drives me crazy, but I used to say that it's not a static land. In other words, it's a moving target, because what happens is that the industry is constantly responding. When people talked about having 100-calorie snacks, they just started putting Chips Ahoy in 100-calorie packs. started
and then you eat 6 of
saying
them.
they want to have salads. Now, people come to me and they say, "Oh, I had a salad." Well, you know what? If you put half a cup of blue cheese and half a cup of candied cranberries and half a cup
croutons
of, on it, then it's still 1,200 calories. So you have the person who feels like they were good and they can't understand why they're not losing weight, and the restaurant who served you a delicious meal, you're totally happy. The same thing, people started asking for vegetables instead of potatoes or rice. Well, you know what? If you saute spinach or kale, it's 350 calories. You might as well just have the rice and go enjoy yourself. So the collusion, it's so cellular, it's so complete, and unless people are just willing to educate themselves, they're being blindsided left and right. They can't understand why they're doing everything, quote, right, and yet they can't move the needle. If they really sat down and did some calorie counting and just some assessment, they would see that they're eating thousands of calories more than they really believe they are. And it might then be easier to pick and choose, to say, you know what, steam and season my vegetables. They taste delicious, and I don't really want a plate of oil.
Lemon juice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good ways to do it when you do it, but the point is, if you've gone to a restaurant and you feel so righteous because you asked them, to make your meal more healthy. I mean, when you go and eat the beautiful vegetable plate at a nice restaurant, I happen to have a friend who works there. She says the chef just takes a whole handful of butter and just throws it on it. And you just feel like you're doing the best thing in the world for yourself.
It's so tasty, too.
Well, of course,
if you go to
everybody's happy, right? Except that you go home and you punish yourself for not being able to succeed. And that's sad.
I just have to thank you. This is a wonderful conversation. I hate to break in, but we do have to thank our underwriters here, our wonderful underwriters that keep these conversations on the air. Bear Valley Cottage supports KWMR. Bear Valley Cottage in Olema. Information on this self-catering cottage available at bearvalleycottage.com. KWMR also supported by To Celebrate Life Breast Cancer Foundation, raising funds to help underserved women and men living with breast cancer. Through its Bay Area Breast Cancer Grants Program, the foundation supports nonprofits that provide direct and emergency services and believes that no one should face breast cancer alone. Information about how to get involved is available at toCelebratelife.org. And, more to the point, West Marin Food and Farm Tours. West Marin Food and Farm Tours offering culinary adventures in the Point Reyes area. Trips include local history, behind-the-scenes tours, and tastings of cheese, wine, oysters, grass-fed meats, pastries, produce, and more. Details available online at foodandfarmtours.com. That's foodandfarmtours.com. Yes, and this is KWMR, and Whites Hill is open. Sir Francis Drake is open at Whites Hill. Anyway, yes, back to the conversation. Sorry about that.
Bear Valley Cottage is a great place.
Oh, really, Mom?
I've stayed there many times.
It seems to me the cards are stacked against us in so many ways. Those food scientists out there.
Yeah, so don't we have a culture that loves... or in which being fat is kind of normal now? I mean, isn't it a cultural thing? We talk about people being uncomfortable being overweight because they're looked down on, but really, is that still true? Sorry, what was that?
They look prosperous.
Oh, they look prosperous.
Really?
You know what? If
They think they do.
I think it's the opposite.
If 100% of the people were 30 pounds overweight so that it was usual, it still wouldn't protect them from heart disease or...
No, of course. Yeah, you're right.
Well, the drug companies have to have some reasons, I think they're behind everything, frankly. So that's another cynical thing. But if you get nice and sick from eating too much, then they'll have some sort of wonder drug for you that costs $1 million and doesn't really do anything. It's a slippery slope. It really is. Well, I'll let you get on and talk to Gail, and I'll go away. So
Thank you, MK. It was
nice.
great.
Nice to hear.
Thank you for calling in.
Great contribution.
So we have a line open. Call 415-663-8492 and let us know your thoughts about the obesity epidemic. I just was looking at a Wikipedia thing called about the fat acceptance movement. Now, I guess this is more geared towards people who have imbalances that may be more genetically or
I think it's just
syndromes.
A way personally feeling that you're beautiful, you're wonderful, you're perfect, and it isn't about your weight, it shouldn't be biased against it. Paul, I wanted to go back to one thing that you were talking about, people's taste, children's taste. There's a very interesting book called First Bite, and I think part of it showed that infants who are allergic for whatever reason to soy and milk are given a formula that is a sour taste. And if you follow those kids, they typically will grow up for a preference to sour rather than sweet. And so there's just, we don't really recognize that we are training our children's palates from the very earliest age.
Right.
And it's just an opportunity. I think that we all have our appetites, our preferences, and sometimes, and it is hard to make changes, although it's nice to know that they were learned behaviors. Theoretically, that means we can learn other behaviors or other preferences. I'm sure my tastes are different than they were when I was at my heaviest. But it's pretty cool to really recognize that how we feed our children, how we, the foods that we have around the house, being careful at least with them sets them on a more likely path as they get older to not maybe have to struggle with some of the issues that we struggle with.
In this area, it's about grandchildren. We're past the children phase around here. So many people have grandchildren. And it's interesting if they want to take a position in their grandchildren's palates.
But then you're up against the actual parents, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, the parents are often pretty aware, and I think that the more educated we are to the possibilities, it's just another opportunity. It's not something that you can, do universally, but it's nice to know that it does make a difference. I mean, they've shown that the place that lights up for sugar is the same as that lights up for cocaine. So, there's a whole addictive piece to this, a whole cycle of addiction and desire. And
so just eat candy.
Just eat.
It's heroic. I mean, it's naive to think that it just goes away. But the truth is that people handle habits, that no longer work for them all the time. And it's worth it. To be, health is a miracle.
Right.
It's a privilege and it's a gift, and we should, it's worth even doing hard things to reclaim that, and to not have it be squandered and to not have it be stolen by an industry that MK, accurately describes. But we do have the ability with our own personal choices and within our own small communities to make better choices and to set the conditions up to be more conducive to turning out, to our
healthy children, healthy people. We have another caller on the line here. Hi, caller, you're on the air. What's your name, please?
This is Colleen calling.
Colleen, how are you?
So I just wanted to, I was listening a lot to what Gail was saying and stuff like that, and basically I was just wanted to tell you I just finished watching this program on Danish TV. I can, stream Danish TV, and it was a group of there was 100 people in the program, but they did a TV show on 6 of 10 people, and out of those 10 people, they showed them, with exercise and then lifestyle change as far as eating is concerned. And they were all heavy-duty type 2 diabetes, really, really bad. A couple of them were taking shots. Some of them were taking pills, and they were in pretty bad shape. And then they worked with them. And over a period of, after just 3 months, 4 of them could already cut back on their medicine. And after a year, 6 of the 10 could completely stop their medicine. And the 4 other ones cut way back to very, very little medicine for diabetes. And all they basically did was get out of the chair and exercise.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Exercise And then, lifestyle change as far as like eating more greens and stuff like that. And so the Danish government were doing this whole thing, and they actually looking more and more of the money that the government is saving by helping people with their eating habits and
really excellent
habits versus giving them the medicine. And they find that it was so much cheaper, even though they had to have, personal coaches and all this stuff, rather than having them have diabetes too and winding up with amputations and heart conditions and God knows what, because of this. And they were like more and more looking at, the government actually paying for personal coaches, exercising, changing their diet, and so forth.
That's one of the upsides of a national health system, isn't it?
Exactly.
That if the drugs cost too much, let's look for other ways to do it, and that's what they do.
And it was just, and it was really an interesting program, and then they came back and checked with them after 6 months after they were off the program, and they were still doing quite well.
Yeah.
And of course, the big one was they were also checking their ability to sleep. Mm-hmm. And of course, as we all know, if you don't sleep well, you don't. And in the United States, so many people don't get the 8 hours you should have, and that leads directly to obesity. I mean, that's a proven fact now. That if you don't get the sleep, you tend to then eat more and blah blah blah. And it was a fascinating program. So
I wonder, does Kaiser have a program for weight loss? It seems it would be in their best interest. For their patients.
Right. Yeah.
I wonder if they do.
They do offer similar services, and it's a question of the level of support and the length of support, ongoing.
Right. Right. Anyway. I love listening to the program. It sounds wonderful. And hi, Gail, and hi, Steve.
Hi. More importantly, did you get in the water?
Come over for dinner soon, and I will give you a low-calorie meal.
Oh, no.
Thank you, Corinne. Thanks for calling.
Okay, take care. Bye.
The statistics are remarkable. They say that losing just 10% of your weight lowers the risk of becoming a diabetic by 58%.
Wow.
There is no medicine on the planet that comes close. And if you actually read the studies, it's actually just 6% of your weight. So even if you weigh 180 pounds, that's like 15 pounds weight loss. It's easy for people to say, I want to weigh 125 or I want to weigh what I weighed in high school. But losing just that 15 pounds literally changes your body and your metabolism. Even if you gain that weight back, you still have a 30% lower chance of becoming a diabetic.
Fantastic.
So the opportunity is so profound.
Yeah.
And I think that people maybe are daunted by the thought that they need to lose 60 pounds. But like I said, just losing 10 or 15 pounds can make a world of difference, not only in the risk factors, but even in the quality of life.
I just realized something really interesting.
Great incentive.
I was reading that obesity takes up $250 billion out of our health care budget. I was thinking if you just saved $20 billion, you could use it for
to build planes.
Don't get the money, right?
How about walls?
Yeah, put a wall up.
There you go. We don't have to cut back on the Coast Guard.
But losing every 1 pound of weight that you lose takes 4 pounds of pressure off your knees and off of your vertebrae, your back. Again, losing that 10% of the weight, half the people who have knee pain have no knee pain or almost no knee pain. Often they can cut down or cut out one medicine for blood pressure or cholesterol or whatever, they might be treated for. So, we really, sort of do this in a stepwise fashion, get that first 10% off, and then decide what the next goal is and the strategy for getting to that goal step by step.
So just that 10% makes a huge difference. You could be happy with just losing 10% because your risk of diabetes and other things goes down so much.
Well, less back pain, less knee pain.
Right.
You walk, you move better, you breathe better.
Higher self-esteem.
Better, you look, people notice. That's just astonishing, and it really is that profound. again, this notion somehow that the goal is so far away and so large is daunting for a lot of people, and they don't realize the benefits of even just modest weight loss.
How about the job bias?
Their body, their quality of life.
How about the job bias? People are less likely to hire a fat person.
Yeah, but I mean, now the conversation is swinging. In other words, I'm really trying to just enroll people in the idea that small changes can make an enormous difference. Certainly, culturally, the bias. It's. I mean, I think that people who carry a lot of extra weight have to endure. I think a lot of creepy, jerky people, basically.
Yeah. It's just another added
weight bias.
Another added level of bias, yes. What am I trying to say? When you're biased.
I mean, we're a perfect culture. It's like we get mad at people for dieting. We get mad at them for being overweight. We think, it's like it's all kind of a bad setup.
But but that is a great incentive actually. Just losing. Well, 10%. I mean, I'm 225, 226, so 20 pounds. Boy, that would take me way down below the overweight, below my 25 BMI.
Yeah, well, that would be nice.
It would be nice.
But, it's like we get used to it. But carrying that extra 20 pounds, I mean, do you notice the difference?
I'll talk about my dad was actually told that he was obese when he was in his 40s, even though he walked to the station every morning, which was 1.5 miles to the station and all that. He was obese, and he went on a 1,000-calorie diet, and he became thin. He became a normal-sized person. His neck size went down 2 inches, and his and everything was better. And he came in one day and he said, "This is how much weight I have to lose." And he brought in 50 pounds of sugar or something.
Right. That's right.
And I mean, he did end up with diabetes anyway, but he was, that was already in working away at him. That's probably why part of the incentive to lose weight. But
I mean, when I lost weight, I was shocked at how much better I felt. My standard joke was, after 25 years of telling people that they should lose weight, I was just amazed. I would be halfway up a hill and I wouldn't even hesitate. It's the things that we resign. Like, I think that a big problem is the kind of resignation. That it's very easy for people to say, "Well, I'm tired. I work hard. I'm stressed. I'm busy. I'm getting older." And when they realize, when they lose the weight, they're like, "Oh my God, that's what it feels like to carry around 30 extra pounds and eat a bunch of crap."
They got a backpack full of stuff.
It's like you can never put it down.
Right. Yeah.
So you almost have to enroll people in giving, and caring again. You have to enroll people in the idea that it is something that they can do and that it's worth doing. Right. And again, to do it in a group, to do it with a team, to do it with a friend, within your family. I mean, of course, it's just that much easier.
Sure. Yeah, when you have community support, team support, a little group activity, of course.
Exactly. There's no doubt, sometimes a little healthy competition is nice. I mean, there's all sorts of ways that people just join forces with their friends or within their family, to make it more likely to succeed.
Right.
Yeah. I'm passing. If I'm not hungry now, I'm just going to pass on it. Actually, I'm just kidding. I can go a whole day without eating and not feel depriving myself. Yeah,
I've been doing that more lately too. If I'm not hungry, I don't eat. That's basically how that is. And I think I do need to get down below my below the overweight status, but I must say I'm not really sweating too much about it. But it would be nice to lose 20 pounds, I guess. Yeah. Well, Gail, thank you so much for being on the air today. That was wonderful.
Glad it's helped, and such a great show, and so glad to be here.
We'll see you soon at my house.
Can't wait.
Thank you, Gail.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was lovely. I mean, Gail.
Yeah.
Gail knows her stuff, man.
Talking to an expert.
And I was just thinking about my childhood. It's all about me, you know. When I wouldn't have very much sugar, but I used to drink tea with sugar because my parents, you know, they drank sugar in their tea, and my mom drank tea all day, and so did my dad, I guess, being English and all. And then once a week we'd go and pick up my grandma, and she would give me money to go to the sweet shop. So I go and buy, you know, Kit Kat and a Milky Way and, you know, Smarties. What do you call them here? M&Ms. And this would happen every week. And then I came down with a severe, nasty case of boils on my posterior. And they were very nasty, and probably cysts, actually, but they called them boils. And the doctor said, you've got to cut down on sugar. So I did. I've really kind of lost my sweet tooth. You know,
That's fascinating.
I still, I don't never take sugar in any drink and or sweeteners of any kind. And but I do drink alcohol. So yes, there it is. That's my sugar intake, I guess. But yeah, I never do desserts really, unless it's a special occasion, you know, birthday or, you know, got to join in. But really, the dessert menu has no appeal to me.
6 drafts, so.
Well, yeah, there is that. Yes. Well, we all have our little failings.
Yes, we do.
Happens to be mine.
Yes, we do. I'm not going to list mine.
But you were. Have you been on a diet to lose weight?
You know, I lost a lot of weight, not necessarily intentional. Mine was due to a medical issue and finding the right pharmaceutical. I lost maybe 30 pounds.
Oh.
Yeah. I was better looking when I weighed more from my own point of view.
It's nice to be a bit pudgy.
Yeah. I actually gained 10 pounds because I was gaunt.
Yeah, actually, I do remember that. Yes. But now you're okay? You're holding steady?
I'm pretty happy with where I am. Yeah. Generally, we have like a 2 or 3 pound area. You gain a little, you lose a little. As long as I'm within that range, I'm happy. I pretty much stay in that range.
Yeah. Well, that was Let's Talk for this week. Talking about obesity, a fascinating conversation. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our callers. And KWMR does not take a stand on any of the issues discussed on Let's Talk. Opinions expressed on this program are those of the hosts and callers and don't necessarily reflect the views of KWMR, its board of directors, underwriters, or members. We'll be back next week, Thursday, every week, Thursday, 11 till noon.
I just want to make one pitch here. Having people join the conversation like today really makes a difference.
Yeah. No, it's what this show is all about, is having people join the conversation. All right. See you next week.